Okay, here we go. So this one is by request. All right. Um, so, okay, take a look at this dove behind me. Look at the shape of its tail. See how it's kind of like it comes down like a triangle, and then there's a fan, like a fan, right? So it's the shape of a fan, really. But it's kind of nice to think of this graceful dove, right? Okay, so now this idiom cannot be understood unless you see how this shape has been used uh, for other things, right? So let's take a look here. Okay, well, so I got to don't pay attention to the ones that are in the middle here. Just take a look at this one. Here's a nice example. Um, so this one over here, it's perfectly shaped. This one is kind of good too. Isn't that beautiful? All right. So now I want to take a look at if I just type in dovetail, it's going to show, and I do a Google image search, it's going to show this wooden joint, and this is just called a dovetail joint. But you can't really understand the meaning of the idiom unless you see this joint, because see how it fits together very well, right? It's perfect. And you could probably, if you got this perfect enough, you could not use any nails, right? Or any glue, maybe. It just fits together well. Like, for example, if you tried to move this piece this way, it's not going anywhere, right? Uh, but most of the time they put a little bit of glue in there, right? Uh, so almost all of your dresser drawers are made with this kind of dovetail joint, right? They might call it a dovetail. They might call it a dovetail joint. Okay, so, and actually, this says Japanese. They do it a little bit differently because sometimes they try to use no nails because they think that's more, I don't know, maybe traditional or something. They didn't used to have steel mills and stuff, and so they made a lot of furniture and stuff with no nails. Okay, and also sometimes the nails can ruin the wood, right, and make it uh, last for a shorter time. All right, so you got to be able to understand this. Look at this joint, okay, the shape of a dove's tail, and so the meaning of it is, well, to fit together into a whole. Just hang on. To fit skillfully to form a whole, to fit together with, okay? Like this, right? Fits together well to form a whole thing. Okay, so let's go back here. So let's take a look at some examples I have here. So this is true story. This is one of my past schedules. Okay. I worked first and second period at a university. So it's I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but a university. And third, fourth, and fifth period. So a day of a typical university English teacher is going to be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's going to go from about 9 o'clock to maybe 6:30. Okay, 6:30 p.m. Okay, and it's always better to work while you're working, right? In order to make as much money as possible, also to become as efficient as possible so you can have maybe a day off rather than to get up and go to work for just first and second period or maybe only fourth and fifth. So I worked first and second period at A university and third, fourth, and fifth period at B university. So those two jobs fit together well. Fit together well. Okay, so what's another way to say it? Okay. So I used past tense up here. I didn't use past tense up here, but it doesn't matter. You can say, I work first and second at A university, and that dovetails into third, fourth, and fifth, or 3, 4, and 5 at B university. So I made this like casual. So I could 3, 4, and 5. You might say it like that. Okay. So dovetails into, and most of the time they'll say, or oftentimes they will say dovetails very nicely. Okay. Okay, so let's take another example. He was good at, okay, so let's take this scenario. I probably should have put like a box here to represent a school. But let's say there's a couple, and let's just put this in Turkey, right? Turkey, we'll just put this in Turkey. So this guy marries a Turkish woman. And so they just decide to make an English language school. Okay. And so they start this school, and their skills dovetail together very well because he was good at marketing and could teach the English classes, and she went to school for bookkeeping, right? And so she could take care of the record keeping of the school. So their skills dovetailed together. And then most of the time they'll say something like very nicely or very well. Okay, something like that. Okay. So let's take a look at some examples here. Now this kid, I don't know, he's a man, young man. He studied history and political science. Okay? So it's easy to imagine that those two majors match pretty well together. They complement each other, right?
Because I think that both disciplines dovetail really well. I think that history provided me with a really interesting analytical approach towards things, whilst politics gave me a very current perspective.
Okay, so the history gave you some background, and then the politics gave you a current perspective. Okay, so here's another one. Okay, so this guy used to work for the military, and he did some things related to energy, working for the military. And then once he got out of the military, a lot of people that used to be in the military, they continue to work for the government because they understand the system better. They can carry their pension over very easily. They're working for the federal government, and so they just continue, and some certain things are the same, right? And sometimes it happens that the military people and the civilian people are working together in the same office, doing almost the same thing. So those, they're have similar functions, and so when somebody quits working for the military, then they go to work for the federal government. Okay, so those two dovetail in together very well. Oops. All right.
agencies I worked with made a pretty seamless transition for me to come and dovetail into the team here at DOE.
Okay, dovetail into the team here at DOE, which is the Department of Energy. Okay, so anyway, that's that. So just anytime you hear dovetail, it means it works well together. Okay, so there you go, and I will talk to you on the next video.